good day, chickies. Hey everybody, it's Doc, and welcome to the channel. So a few of you have asked me to give some driving impressions on what day-to-day life is like with the Corolla GR, and I thought this would be a good time to talk about one of my favorite features with the GR, which is the Toyota Safety Sense 3.0. I don't know what the 3.0 part means because I've been looking at a new Tundra, and actually a new Sequoia, and it has Safety Sense 2.5, and it's a 2024, so I'm not sure exactly what the difference is, I'll be honest there. But the Toyota Safety Sense 3.0 basically is a suite that has multiple features, including a dynamic radar cruise control, which is their name for basically adaptive cruise. There is a pre-collision system with pedestrian detection. Essentially, I guess if it sees something in the road, it'll stop the car for you. I'm not sure how that works, and in my commute I really don't have a lot of pedestrians, but there are a lot of deer, so it'll be interesting to see what it does if a deer jumps out in front of me, and that may or may not be a good thing because you usually don't brake for deer. And then there is a lane departure alert with steering assist, so if you start leaving your lane, it'll kind of push you back in and basically chirp at you for doing that. There's lane tracing assist, which is one of my favorite features, and it's kind of cool because in a way it's flawed. The lane tracing in this car, I guess we need to define lane tracing versus lane keeping versus lane centering. And so lane keeping, simply the car reads the lines and kind of keeps you in between the lines. You bounce back and forth. It doesn't really control the car that well. It just keeps you in those lines, and which is what my Bronco has. And lane centering, I would equate more to the Tesla Autopilot, which is indisputably probably the best lane centering program out there, where it puts you dead center between the two lines as long as the lines are clearly painted, and it keeps you there. And dead center of the lane is not exactly where you think it is, but in the same respect, it also wants full command. So if you have any input into the system at all, it kicks out and then you're in charge. Whereas the Toyota Lane Tracing Assist, it's a little bit more driver oriented, and you can have some inputs and it doesn't kick you out. Actually, you can have a lot of input and it doesn't kick you out, and I'll show you that in a little bit. So I like that feature of it. And then let's see what else I need. I have my notes here. Automatic high beams, and then there's proactive driving assist, where if the car doesn't think you're driving correctly as far as into a corner, it'll help you out. I've experienced that a couple of times, and it kind of just bumps you out of the line that you want when you're being a little bit aggressive. So I don't know how I feel about that, and it's not overpowering, but it's a little bit disconcerting when you're trying to basically concentrate on what you're doing. So we're going to get to this, and you guys can go on a commute with me. So a little bit of a tutorial here in respect to the steering wheel controls and to the dash. The dash is pretty configurable, although it's not really user-friendly, let's say, but eventually you'll figure it out, or you pull the manual and figure it out. So as far as the steering wheel goes, these are your controls for the cruise control over here, the adaptive cruise. This button right here determines which mode you want to be in, whether it's adaptive cruise or whether it's just plain cruise control. We're going for adaptive cruise. And then after that, lets itself down. The lower part of the button, a second here, need a shift, and the lower part of the button determines how many bars you want to be away from the person in front of you. And as far as I can determine, each bar signifies 1 second following. So if you're four bars behind someone, you're following them by about 4 seconds. Then up here is your cruise control button. and that will put you into your cruise mode. And then over here is the button that will determine whether you want lane tracing or not. So if you push that button, it's going to go off. If you push back on, the green lights are on the side, signifying that it can see the lines, and the green steering wheel is on, basically meaning it's got some control, but you should keep your hands on the steering wheel. Then here we have the set and resume button, which does exactly what every other cruise control does, and the cancel button. If you notice, like I said, I've got the cruise control as the main center under my speedometer, but also if you want to have something else there, you can program for something else, and you can see in the small area here, it tells you that your adaptive cruise is on, your lane centering is on, and that it's set for, oh my gosh, 67 miles an hour. This car is so easy to speed in, it's ridiculous. So we're going to drop that down to a more reasonable rate. And then I'll show you some pretty specific scenarios which are kind of fun. Okay, so here's a good example of how the system will manage a long sweeping corner and then an opposite corner going the other direction. Doesn't like me not putting some input into the steering wheel, so we corrected that. It's under total control at this point. Not loving it. And then we come up here, we've got an opposite corner headed the other direction, and usually what it does is it favors the center line, and sometimes it even crosses over. Doing it pretty well today. Really no input on my part through those basically little chicanes. Something that's really notable about the cruise control system in this car that I find intriguing actually is the fact that you can be in cruise control and you can still shift. You can downshift, you can upshift, and it doesn't kick you out of the system. And as a matter of fact, you can steer a little bit and it doesn't kick you out. It's going to, I take that back, it just didn't. And then we're back. I don't need to reset it. I just pissed it off enough that it's like, well, you're under control now. But then it takes control back when I put it back kind of in the center of the lane. Weird and interesting. Here comes another corner coming up. Again, we're traveling at a preset speed of 60 miles per hour, if you can't see that on the dash. And this is actually one of my favorite corners on my drive, because it is something you can hit pretty much all out, and it's a lot of fun. But we'll just let the cruise control take care of it today. Chirping at me a little bit because the road's and it's crossing over. But so it's lost control. I've picked up control. Now I put it back in the center, and it goes back to its business. It does not require me to re-input, even though I'm being naughty. And then we're back under the control of the car. So it's actually quite forgiving and doesn't require you to reset the system every time that maybe it bumps out. So that could be seen as a negative because it's not controlling the corners like it should, or it could be seen as a positive because it's making you pay attention, and therefore you get to remain the driver and it remains essentially the co-pilot. Just so you guys know, my drive is not all peaches and cream, and we're undergoing a lot of road construction, which is a good thing because this is a pretty crappy road. So look at